Hello everyone, welcome to Come Sit at My Table. We sure do appreciate you being here. Today is another subscriber Sunday. So today we are doing a recipe from another one of our subscribers. And today, this recipe comes from Canada. It actually comes from a gentleman named David Wilson. And I'm not going to try to hide it from you. I am thrilled to be doing a recipe from another gentleman. Most of ours have come from women or couples, so I'm really happy to be doing one from David today. Now, the recipe that we're going to do is called a Southwest quiche. That's what David called it. I'm going to add to that title and call it a Southwest Canadian quiche because, well, first it came from David, who lives in Canada, and second, it is a Canadian recipe, and I'm going to explain that to you when I read part of his letter here in a minute. So we are calling this a Southwest Canadian quiche. This is what his letter says. Tom and Melissa, I am sending you this recipe because it is a tried and true recipe that I have used for 26 years. It comes from a Canadian cooking series of cookbooks called Company's Coming. The author of the book is an amazing woman. I'm going to try to say her name. I know it's French and I'll probably mess it up, but I'm going to try. I think it's Jean Paris. She lived in the small town of Vermilion, Alberta, Canada. She was very entrepreneurial, a professional caterer who started this at the age of 54, and she was a mother of 4. She started by selling self-published cookbooks from her car. That's just amazing. She started by selling them in gas stations and corner stores and fairs. Eventually, her books were available in major grocery stores and bookstores in the cooking sections. She had over 200 various cookbooks. It's amazing to me that this lady started at the age of 54 and published more than 200 cookbooks and did it on her own and started by selling them out of her car. That's incredible. Jean died at the age of 94 in 2022. She is a true Alberta success story. And I would agree with that 100%. So let's talk about what we're going to use to make David's Southwest Canadian quiche. We're going to start with 1/2 pound of Italian sausage, and you can use either hot or mild. He said either works just fine. I bought mine like this, but if you buy it in casings, in the round casings, kind of like, the round sausages, the long sausages are like a hot dog shape, you will need to remove those casings, so peel that off. But if you buy it like this in a tray, you can just use it the way it is. So 1/2 pound of Italian sausage. We will brown that by itself. Then we're going to make our custard out of 3 eggs, 1 cup of whole milk, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and he said you can use white pepper or black pepper, but not to use coarse ground pepper. You want ground pepper that will kind of dissolve into the mixture. We're also going to use 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne, a 4-ounce can of chopped green chilies, and we are going to drain those. You want them drained. We're also using 1 1/2 cups of pepper jack cheese or Monterey cheese. Now, he said he normally uses Monterey cheese, but I really like pepper jack. And since he said we could use either, I'm going with the pepper jack. And then 1/2 cup of grated aged cheddar cheese. He said you can use sharp or extra sharp, and you can use either the white or the orange. So we're using 1 1/2 cups of pepper jack and 1/2 cup of sharp cheddar. And then, of course, if you're going to make a quiche, you have to have a pie crust. And he said that you need to make that first, get that in your pie plate, and keep it cold. Keep it refrigerated. So I'm putting this right back in the refrigerator, and then we're going to start by browning our sausage. So let's get our sausage in our skillet. I'm going to turn that on. Get that in there. I'm going to peel that paper off. We certainly don't want that in there, do we? And we will let that start to brown. Now I'm going to start chopping that up. I'm just going to use my chopper. If you don't have a chopper, then just use a spoon or, whatever you have to chop it up and let it start to brown. It's going to take a few minutes for this to cook all the way through. David did say you want to make sure it is fully cooked and there is no pink or red left in the sausage. So we want to make sure that we cook it all the way through. And then we will move it over to our cold pie shell. So we will let this brown, and while it is browning, I will grate our pepper jack cheese and our cheddar cheese. Okay, we have shredded our cheese. Now remember, we needed 1.5 cups of either Monterey or pepper jack, and I did pepper jack. And if you're buying a block to shred, you'll need about a 12-ounce block. Now the block I bought was 16 ounces. Melissa and I will finish this with cheese and crackers. And if you're buying a block of cheddar, remember you can do the orange or the white, you'll need about a 4-ounce block. This is, I think, a 7-ounce block, so we had a little left over. We'll also use that. Okay, Melissa browned and drained our sausage while I was grating the cheese. So we're just going to put that right in our pie shell and our crust. And we will just make sure that that is spread out as evenly as possible, because you don't want a lot on one side and very little on the other. You want some all over. So just make sure that's as even as you can possibly get it. And then we're going to add our Monterey or pepper jack, whichever you're using, right on top of that. So let's just put that in. And again, we will want that to be as even as possible. Just spread it around, get it in there. This is already looking really good. This is such an easy quiche. There's really not that much to it. Some sausage, cheese, and your custard, and that's it. A lot of quiches that we look at have, a ton of ingredients, spinach and vegetables that are chopped and whatever. So this is a fairly easy quiche. And David says he's been using this for over 26 years. Well, if he's been using it for 26 years, I trust that it's delicious. So I'm glad to try it. Okay, another thing that David said in his letter was that when he mixes up his custard ingredients, he does it in a bullet blender. Or he said you can do it in just a regular blender. Well, Melissa and I have had this blender, this bullet blender, for a long time. And we used to use it quite a bit, didn't we, babe?
And our girls were really big fans of, especially morning drinks made in the blender.
Yeah, when our kids were home, they used it a lot. We haven't used it so much. So when I saw his suggestion to use a bullet blender or a regular blender, I thought, okay, here's our chance. We'll dig that thing out. So I'm just going to put all of our ingredients in there. Now I'm going to break my eggs into a bowl before I put those in, just in case I get a piece of eggshell or a bad egg. It's funny because in one of our recent videos, I said, in all the years I've been cooking, I've only gotten a couple of bad eggs. And I'll be daggone if I didn't have a video just a few days later that I got a bad egg. And it was one I had bought at the store just a day or two prior to that. So you just never know. Now we're going to add our spices. So we're going to put in 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and I am using white pepper, but you do not have to do that. You can use black pepper if you wish. And 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne. David did say if you want to leave out the cayenne, you can, but he does not recommend that. He thinks that's very important to the flavor of the dish. Now, here's something I'm not sure about. His recipe says to put the chilies in with the custard mixture. I've never done that before. I'm wondering if it's going to turn our custard green. I don't know, but we're about to find out. So in they go. And I want to make sure every bit of that is out of there, because that is flavor. By the way, these green chilies will not make your custard hot. I guess you can get hot chilies, though, can't you?
Yes.
I got mild. I always get mild. So I get them just for the flavor. All right, so our lid's going on, and we're going to go over to the bullet blender. I don't know where you want to go, Melissa. And I'm going to put it in. Now this is going to be loud, so just prepare yourself. Oh, you know what? It works better if you plug it in. So there it goes. And that is not going to take long. Let's see what it looks like. I think it looks really good. Looks blended to me.
Good to me.
And it's not as green as I thought it might be. Okay. So now we need to pour this over the cheese and sausage. And of course, it will kind of even itself out, but I just think you need to try to pour it evenly over just to make sure that it's kind of all down in there. Go all the way around the edge of the crust. Make sure you get some right up against the crust. By the way, you will notice, I should have shown this, I did not prick the bottom of my crust.
And you didn't pre-bake it.
I did not pre-bake it. It goes in unbaked because it's going to bake with the quiche. And I don't prick the bottom because I just feel like that gives a place for that custard to get down in there and make your crust soggy. I don't see a reason to. Okay, now on top of the whole thing goes our grated sharp cheddar. And David, I'm going to make a little confession to you. I am not a huge fan of sharp cheddar cheese. I don't hate it. I eat it occasionally, but it is not my favorite. But because your recipe said to use it, that's what I'm doing. And I'm going to tell you, I got the Kerrygold. And as I was grating this, I thought, okay, I'm going to taste this just to see. And it's not bad. Actually, it's really pretty good cheese. So maybe I was just buying the wrong brand of sharp cheddar all this time. But I think this is really pretty good for sharp cheddar. It's still not my favorite cheese, David. But I think that's pretty good. Okay, now we are going to cover the crust with a pie ring. If you don't have a pie ring, you can just use a piece of aluminum foil, wrap it around your pie crust, and fold the top over so it covers the edge of your pie. That's just to keep the edge of your crust from burning before the rest of the quiche is done. So into the oven we go. By the way, I forgot to say earlier in the video, I can't think of a more perfect dish for someone to fix if you're having company than quiche. You can serve it for breakfast, you can serve it for brunch, you can serve it for lunch, and you can serve quiche for dinner. It goes with any meal or every meal. So this is a really good recipe and a good dish to have if you're having company. All right, so we're going into the oven. It's preheated at 350 degrees. We're going to bake it for 45 minutes. After about 30-35 minutes, I'll probably remove this ring and just check my pie crust to see if the edge has enough color. If not, I might just take the ring off and leave it off. If I think it's got enough color, I'll just leave the ring on it the whole time. All right, in the oven we go. Our quiche baked for 45 minutes. We took it out of the oven and let it cool almost completely. It's still just a tad warm, but it is ready for us to have for lunch today. And as you can see, we're having it with black seedless grapes and peaches. So let's do a little bite and see what we think. The cheese that's on top, that sharp cheddar, really browned. And it just looks really nice. You ready, babe?
Yes.
It looks really nice on there. And I did leave the pie shield ring on there for 35 minutes and then took it off. And the outer crust is just perfect.
That's
it looks
delicious.
really nice. Is it good?
Oh my goodness, that's so good. Oh yes, that's really wonderful taste. I love the sausage. It's got a little heat with, I guess, the cayenne.
Probably the cayenne and the pepper jack.
Yeah, that's really nice.
That is so good. Well, I just made a mess.
Honey.
I really was a little worried when we didn't have any vegetables to go in it. I was afraid it just wouldn't have enough taste. But I'm telling you, it's full of flavor. That is really good. Yum. And it's going to go really well with this fruit. All right. You have to make that. That is delicious. And so simple. Really easy. All right. Thank you so much for watching our video. We really do appreciate it. We would appreciate you going right below this video and clicking the thumbs up. That just says you liked our video. Click the share button and share it to your own social media. And then also, if you haven't before, click that subscribe button, the little notification bell beside of it, and the word all. That just gives you a seat at our table and allows YouTube to notify you every time we put up a new video. Remember that right under the video, you will see the title of this recipe. If you click in that box will expand, and in that description box, Melissa always puts the written recipe. Under that written recipe, you will find our contact information. And of course, there is a place for you to leave a comment, and we love hearing from you, so feel free to leave us a comment. Thank you so much for watching our video. You really need to try this Southwest Canadian quiche. It's a keeper.
Thanks, David.
Yeah, David, we appreciate that so much. Thank you for sending it in. If you have a recipe that you want to send in that is, to quote David, tried and true, send it to us. I'm just going to tell you now, we've gotten hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of recipes. So it could be a while before we get to all of them, but we still would like to have good recipes if you've got something to share. Thanks again for watching. We want you to remember, you are always welcome to come sit at my table. Have a great day.